We're back.
Yeah. That was something.
That was a lot of something.
Weddings are wild.
They are wild beasts of things.
Like, how, man, and to unpack the wedding we're going to have to take several episodes to unpack the wedding and all that was around it. And it'll come out in the next months, I imagine. We're still unpacking it.
Yeah, I think we're still kind of unpacking and integrating it. And I don't want to do a big wedding dump, per se.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
No. You know what's interesting is the wedding kind of consumed a lot of our life for a bit. We actually paused the podcast to shift our energy over the past few weeks into full wedding mode. And I do not have a single bit of what they call the wedding blues, where you're like, sad it's over, can't believe your wedding era is gone. I am like, hallelujah. I'm just stoked to be back to normal life and figuring out what's next for us. It was incredible, fantastic, amazing, beautiful, and there's so much to say and unpack, but
You're done with the wedding.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. I'm ready to say goodbye to that chapter, even though it was one of the most incredible chapters of my life, and I feel like of our life, we'll always look back on it. But I think when I don't know, we'll get into it about attachment and how we processed it and are actually okay saying goodbye to that chapter without. It's a weird thing, like, you know, when like you finish high school and you're graduating high school and there's people who are really sad and there's people who are ready to move on, and usually it seems like the people who really enjoyed high school are sad and the people who are ready to move on are the people who hated it. It's like, I really enjoyed it's not high school, but like
you did not enjoy high school.
No, I did not. I was one of those people that was ready to move on, but and that saddens me. I have grief about that. Like, I wish I would have soaked it in more, but this past season, like, I soaked up every second of it. I enjoyed every second of it, and I'm ready to move on. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I've ever had that level of maturity about any season in my life. Well, probably because I've never been this mature. That's kind of the goal, right? Like, it'd be sad to say I was more mature at a younger age, but I think that's, you know, as we were able to stay present with it and enjoy it and soak it up, the less I was trying to hold on to it. Like, the more I was almost aware the whole time that this is temporary. Like, what we were putting our efforts into, the getting to work with your dad all the time and your mom being here, like, there was so much good and so much just fun. It was such a fun experience to get to enjoy with everyone. And I also was totally okay letting go and kind of moving to the next chapter.
Yeah, I would contribute that to the power of acceptance.
Yeah.
Just radically accepting each part of the season for what it was and radically accepting that it is no longer the season we're in.
Yeah.
And with acceptance comes contentment of just what is.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, there's definitely things that I wish I would have done differently, and there's definitely moments that I didn't soak it up, or moments that I let, maybe like the rehearsal dinner. I wish I would have enjoyed the rehearsal dinner more and soaked that up more. So there's definitely moments, but overall, I'm very happy and content with how I think we got as close as we possibly could to what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, that's all you can ask for when you're trying to create something from nothing. Like, you have this image in your head, or this idea of a retreat you want to plan, or even a talk you want to give at work, or some meeting, you have this image, of how you want it to go. And if you can get close to what you're trying, sometimes it's even better. And in a lot of ways, it was better than I could imagine. Some things were way better than I could imagine. Some things didn't necessarily go as planned, but overall, it was as close as I possibly could imagine us getting to what we wanted.
Yeah, in ways it actually feels like it was a miracle.
Yeah.
For what
Yeah.
was pulled off.
Yeah, there was some moments where we were, that's why we had to stop. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets, is having to stop the podcast a month before. Like, I really was looking forward to keeping everyone updated with what was going on and having that time to kind of stamp. And I thought it would have been cool to look back on and be able to listen to years later of like, this was the podcast we did the week of our wedding, we actually tried to film some, and our brains were we were just so tight on schedule that it was like, the best way I could put it is like we were running a marathon, and it was that last mile, and we just had to sprint. And we could have done the podcast, and we could have done a bunch of other things, but it felt more aligned to just sprint and try to get to the goal that we had for ourselves in this short term, and then full focus on the podcast and coaching and other things after the honeymoon, which is where we're at now. We got home yesterday.
We're back. I actually I think my intent with this episode is to talk about our top intention for the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And intention for the wedding, but also the intention for the wedding is similar to the intention for this episode, and that's energy. And we had talked about what we wanted for the wedding day, and
the whole time,
like
when we started talking about the wedding,
we didn't have the conversations of like what color scheme and things like that. We went the route of, and this is about as on brand as it could possibly be, but like, how do we want to feel, and how do we want everyone there to feel? And we looked at that through the lens of energy, and what's the energy we want for the day, and what's the energy we want to give off and bring. And so we really spent a lot of time kind of trying to manifest that and feel that. And when it boiled down in our conversations, we really came to this, like, we want people to feel love. We want people to feel our love, the love of our family unit, and the love we have for them. Like, we just want this energy of love.
When you come to a wedding, we talked about it. What are you going to see? Like, do you care so much about the food? Do you care so much about the colors? Do you care so much about what people are wearing? Like, mistakes can happen all over the place, but the one thing we didn't want to, lose sight of was, let's let this be a display of love. And I don't want to derail us. I typically do, but I got married when I was younger, and I contemplated that a lot in the light of getting married again. And so there was some, like, it was very redeeming for me to get to do this again, because in the first time that I got married, and I think a lot of people who get married young, this is probably what happens to them, especially if they grow up in the church or whatever, you're almost trying to get to something. Like, the wedding day is a day, like a door that you're entering into a marriage, right? And yes, like, it is this commitment you're making, but I actually really didn't want to view our wedding like that. And I remember telling you this multiple times, like, I want this to be a display and a ceremony that reflects what has already been built. Not, because I think a lot of times it can be like, out of insecurity. Almost, you think of somebody who's really insecure and wants to be looked at as rich, so they buy a nice car. And so a wedding can be that. Like, I want to be in love. I want to have this good marriage. So it's like an overcompensation for what's not already built underneath in the relationship. And I didn't want our wedding to be that. Like, I knew what we had built. I was confident in what we built. We've had not all the hard conversations. I'm sure there's more to be had for the next 50 years, but we've had so many. We've had so many hard conversations because I did have daughters, and we're in our 30s and we're a little more seasoned. So I think we just went into it having all those hard conversations and building. And we did do courses and classes on inner work, and have gone to the depths of our soul with each other, and still going deeper. But I just knew that if we could hold sight of love and let it be a display of what already is, then it would just feel more authentic. Is that like
Yeah, I think
hard
that's
to
it.
explain?
No, I think that was explained rather well. I would follow it up with, how do you feel we displayed that? And let's maybe talk about how we were intentional about trying to make people, not make people, to bring people in to our love.
Yeah, well, like the first thing is letting go of people's perception, because I think anyone at our wedding, I think people view things like a movie. If they watch a movie, they view it through their lens, or listen to a song, they interpret it through their perception. So to say like we want to make everyone feel at our wedding a certain way is pretty much damn near impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, so we wanted that, but you almost have to let that go in order to have it. So it's like, how do we do that? Well, we don't try to think of anyone in particular and how they would perceive it or anything like that. We just trust that if we're authentic and we show our authentic version of love, it will be seen. It will be witnessed, and we let the chips land where they fall. And so we talked about like, how do we show our love, and then like, what's important to us? Is it what I'm wearing? Is it what you're wearing? Is it how all the little details? No, let's not put too much thought into any single detail. So like, we even outsourced things. Like, I was nervous about the lighting because I think lighting is a big part of the mood, and we outsourced to your cousin who's a cinematographer, had him come down and been like, what do you think we should do with lighting? And did exactly what he said, and trust him. And it was insane. Like, we outsourced things. Your parents did so much stuff, and we tried to concentrate as much as we could on our love and cultivating that. Like, so we, a couple days before, stopped working and went to yoga class. It was so hard to do. It was so hard to make time for our love. And we just fought to try to not let go of that. And so like, in the intention in the wedding, well, what is our role? The vows. And so if we could put energy into the vows, let's do that.
Yeah. And I would double down, especially I would say from like the bride's perspective, of how challenging it was for me to let go of the details to focus on the love. I was caught off guard at how hard that was, because it feels like you have the weight of the world of all this pressure of organizing so many different things, that it's incredibly stressful. And it's so easy to get caught up in these little, like, oh my gosh, we forgot napkins, or we, need more flowers or whatever these little things are, it's so easy to allow them to creep in and be more important than focusing on the connection, because they're tangible things you can like check off a list
Mm-hmm.
and get done. And I would say we did a good job, but I could have done even better. I think like
Oh
hindsight
yeah.
at focusing on that,
Yeah.
it was still innately very challenging when I think, especially for us, having the wedding at our own house, there's additional amounts of pressure. We
Mm-hmm.
host, well, rehearsal dinner and wedding at our own house was a little
That made
bit,
it really difficult.
yeah.
That was a understated challenge, I think, to the whole thing. And maybe I wouldn't recommend people, if somebody asked me like, should I have my wedding at my house, I would tell them probably not. Like, it's another difficulty in like another challenge. It just financially was what also aligned with us, and we felt like we could handle it, but it was hard to handle. And it made it special in so many ways. We
Yeah, I
stare every
would,
day at the place that we got married at, which is out right out our front kitchen windows. We only have a big front yard. Our house is butts up to the neighbor behind us in the back, it's like 2 feet from the fence because we're grandfathered in to the setback. But it's an entire front yard, and we got married in our front yard. It's a gated property, but and in a great view. So like it made sense for us to do it here, and we want to do other things with the house. And so like it made sense and aligned with us, but the stress, the added stress of having it at your own house and having like the fear of judgment. Like I barely finished the girls' rooms. Well, not finished. I barely made their girls' rooms livable. Like we moved them into their rooms 3 days before the wedding, and anyone that comes in the house, like I'm like so insecure about that I didn't get to any of the trim in their rooms, the baseboards, like the transitions for the flooring are like barely sitting there. They're not even like, nothing's done right fully. And I just had to let all that go and focus on what we wanted to focus on, which is our love and the ceremony. And it was insanely hard.
mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of different routes we could go with the challenges of that, but I want to bring us back to that piece of energy and how we cultivated it in this ceremony. And I think there was two ways in this ceremony that really brought the energy that we wanted. The first was out of our control, and that was Tanner, my brother-in-law, was our officiant, and
Our brother-in-law now.
our brother-in-law couldn't have made a better selection on that part.
Yeah.
It absolutely knocked it out of the park with his intentionality behind it and how personal he made it to us. And
Absolutely hilarious.
I mean, it was everything from, he did breath work, he brought in spirituality, he brought in humor, he wrote and narrated a story about us. Like, it was absolutely insane. It had us everywhere from laughing to crying within minutes of each other. But I would say that our vows were really a big part of what we talked about, of how we wanted to bring our energy. And that was like, we wanted to show up really vulnerable, authentic, and connected during those. And I think that is a part that I'm really proud of us for.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of the ceremony that was really important was me doing vows to the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was actually,
That was to me was the like kicker of the whole thing, because of just the dynamic, and anyone that knows you, that knows how hard you've worked on your relationship with them, like it just was beautiful.
yeah. And it was easily the hardest part for me in letting people into my dynamic with the girls.
Why was that hard?
Stepmom judgment is heavy.
Like in what way? Like What was the like fear-based thoughts you were having?
I think, well, I'll say I was able to um, keep myself in reality by going, everyone in the audience loves me. And it's not going to be, it's I've personally picked everyone that's there. So there's not going to be as much judgment, but there's very much this feeling it's not even a feeling. There's something I hear a lot in different ways as a stepmom. And I don't want to go too much into this because it'll sidetrack the episode, but you're often told, love them as your own, but remember, they're not yours. And it's this narrative that is woven into a lot of conversations with people.
Do you agree with that narrative? Like, is that a narrative that is like,
it's not helpful. It's radically unkind. And it's very obvious. Like, when it comes up, there's this part of me that wants to scream, like, yeah, I'd know if I birthed them. Like, I am very aware of that.
I don't understand how that narrative is helpful at all.
It's not, but it's throughout society, it is one that is woven into a lot of conversations, or, it's been told to me in different ways. Of people have asked, why do I spend so much time with them? Or I'll even find it in people have a hard time not bringing up their mom in front of me when I'm with them, because they kind of want to like prove loyalty in a way. And so my relationship with the girls is so precious and fragile, and something that I don't often just I shower them with love when I'm one-on-one with them, but I hold myself back sometimes in front of other people because there's a lot of opinions that are given on it. And it was, I don't know, I feel like I'm sidetracking a
No,
lot
it's
in
okay.
this.
I actually want to go into that more, but I think for another episode.
Yeah,
but you put it on display in front of everyone.
Yeah, and I was intentional about wanting to do it because for starters, as much as you asked them if it was okay if like we got married.
I asked them if they were okay with us getting married, and then I asked them actually if they were okay with coming up on stage for you to say vows, and they were stoked for it.
Yeah, but so as much as they're okay with it all, they didn't choose me, and that's a really big deal. And I want them to know that I choose them, though.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't ever they don't have to choose me.
Well, when they're adults, they'll get to decide how much time they spend with us.
Right.
Like, they get to choose me back too once they're adults. Like, your kids kind of repay you in that way.
But I think to me, it was important that they experience me publicly choosing them, and that everyone knows that like I love them and they're a part of my life, me, my family, and I wanted them. I felt it was important for me to make that statement publicly. It was my way of saying publicly, like, these are my kids.
Yeah.
And that statement I just made, like, these are my kids, I would receive very polarizing reactions to, depending on where I say that.
That is
and
wild
as a stepmom, you have to navigate that very carefully because it triggers people, and people are very quick to remind you that they're not. And so it was kind of
what is that? Like, where is that coming from in society? I just don't. Maybe people's perception, because they have their parents and they have this loyalty to their parents, but like, let me be clear. As a kid whose dad left him, my own biological father left me. Do you know how badly I crave internally to be chosen by someone else? Like, if some stepdad came along my life and would have like a good man would have chosen me, do you know how healing that would have been for me? Like it wouldn't have replaced what I lost, the biological aspect, but it would have redeemed it. And if the narrative in society was so if there is a step parent out there that's like, I shouldn't claim them, I shouldn't choose them fully, I would say no. You know what it is? It's self-protection. Because if it's other people saying don't do it because you're gonna get hurt, or like it's this narrative of don't try to replace their parent. Yeah, of course, like recognize their pain. Don't try to claim biological when you're not. Don't try to, if you're adopting a kid, like make sure the kid is validated in the fact of his or her pain, you know? So don't not be in reality about the situation. But just because you're not biological doesn't mean you can't love and choose someone. That is insane. That will continue the pain passed down forever, because no one will ever get chosen. If you're a kid and both your parents die, you're not supposed to get chosen by someone.
So I think you're missing what the message is.
Okay.
Because the message that you're told as a stepmom or step parent is you should fully love them, but remember, stay in your lane. And that's different than where you didn't have a father in the picture. It's when there is still a parent of the same sex in the picture. People, I cannot tell you how often I'm told to stay in my lane. And it's not in those words. It's said a lot fluffier, but it is a narrative that I can tell you every stepmom I've ever spoken to will go, oh yeah, I get that all the time. And so it's
yeah, I think
it's just part of it.
Right. I think there is an aspect of that is, and I think that I see what you're saying. I think that it's and I think that lane is created by the parents. I think like the parents can create that lane. So like if somebody was to become a step parent, like you're walking into a situation where there might be no lane for you. The mom and the dad both don't really want you parenting the kid. You don't get to come in and take that, you know? But like I am their dad, and I created a lane for you. You know, and I said, like, when they're with me, I know they're lacking, you know, nurturing female support. I don't care how much their mom loves them. There's no way she can give that love over here, you know, like there is a hole half the time here. And so I want you, if you're willing, to come in and let's be a unit and parent the kids, and that's what's best for them. And if you look at like any study, that is what's best for them to have a witness to a healthy parenting dynamic of two parents in the house, a male and female. It doesn't mean you're damaged. I was raised by a single mom. Like, you can heal from anything, but if you have the option, I don't know who wouldn't take that, you know?
So we are on the same page about that.
I know.
But
yeah, society.
That's not the message that most step parents are given.
Gosh, that's so sad to me.
Sorry,
I derailed this a little bit.
Yeah. And it comes from, like all things, other people's experiences and their lenses, and especially if other people have had step parents in their lives and they have, you know, their own feelings about them, they'll project them onto you. It's a lot of projections is what you get. And I think I would compare it as like, every parent will tell you they've probably had their parenting criticized by someone else. Just add tenfold on that. And that's what it is to be a step parent, because people have very strong opinions and views of what it should look like, and are quick to tell you them. And it's hard.
Well, it was beautiful, and I think the girls appreciated it a lot, and I appreciated it a lot, and I think anyone that was there to witness it was blessed by the experience of seeing, you know, you honor them in that way. And yes, you were marrying me, but you were also making a commitment to them, because that's also, you know, you're making a commitment to them to love, just like I'm making a commitment to your parents. And, you know, I go down and shake your dad's hand, or I give him a hug, and I hug your mom. And like, there's this like, it's not just a commitment to each other, it's a commitment to everyone else as well. And, you know, I'm a person that's divorced. So like, I understand the repercussions of not honoring that commitment, and it not going well. And so I think it was even more important that we make that commitment to the girls, because like, they're putting a lot of their heart on the line in loving you and letting you in so much. And I think they just felt really good about that. It was cool.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite parts.
Mm-hmm.
Minus the fact that I was crying so hard I had a booger running down my nose.
Oh yeah,
And I
had to
didn't
wipe it.
know
Yeah, I had
until
I
someone
gave you a tissue.
Yeah, I don't even know where the tissue came
Your
from.
mom gave it to like Kenzie and passed it down the line of the bridesmaids. Yeah,
Gnarly.
it's kind of warranted though. It was a pretty emotional ceremony.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted. Like, that's what we wanted. It was beautiful. It was more than I could ever ask for. But
agree.
In light of the topic of energy, like,
so what is energy? We talk about it and we talk about wanting to bring it, but what is it?
Well, people say that emotion, I've heard this before, emotion is energy in motion. And I think that it's a lot. A lot has to do with the emotions you're carrying in a given moment. But I think with emotional control in us, you know, as people learn their emotions and their emotional control, you can try to control your own energy and go in with a headspace that's positive, or like, I'm just going to think, but some people don't realize energy leaks. If you have this energy that's stressed and you're trying to enjoy your wedding, it's going to leak out. And I don't like, only other people see it. Sometimes you don't even see it yourself. And so I can't really say if we had the best energy or not at the wedding, but I can say that I felt like I had tried my best to deal with my bad energy and let it out in the right places, so that my energy was good and clear. Like my energy was clear in the wedding. So energy is like your authentic, I would say it's your authentic emotions, even if you're not trying to show them. It's the makeup of all your emotions that you're carrying. It's your authentic energy. Like, you meet somebody and they're like, their vibe's off, like their energy's just off. Maybe they're trying to be positive. They don't know how to not. They have stuff that they haven't cleared out of their system that's like leaking out, you know, insecurity or jealousy or whatever. You can't always hide and mask your energy. You can try your best, but it's going to show through. And people can sniff it out like dogs.
Well, because you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel someone else's energy.
Yeah.
And I think as much as we focused on bringing good energy to the day, I think my one regret, snafu, hardest part of the day when I look back on it was when we were getting ready. I was ready. I was hanging, having a good time. I wasn't like looking at the clock. I felt like I had great energy. And then all of a sudden I looked at the clock and I was like, oh my gosh, we're an hour and a half behind schedule. I'm not in my dress. And we're like 10 minutes into the first look, like on the schedule. And my energy just shifted into sheer anxiety and
Fear.
fear and panic. And I was like, to my sister, was like, we're so behind schedule. Like, can you get the coordinator? Like, what's happening? And the coordinator came in and I was like, we're an hour and a half behind schedule. Like, what's happening? And she didn't know. And my energy was so anxious that it leaked out all over the place and everyone could feel it, because really the bride and groom set the energy for the day. And when they're not well, everyone else is going to feel it because you take your tone off of them. And so then I said to her, I was like, I want us to be on time. And what I should have communicated was, can you tell me what's going on? I'm scared. But I didn't communicate it well. And I was like, I want us to be on time. And so then she went in and like to the guys' room and was like, everyone get ready. We got to go now. And then we all started getting ready in this hustle. And my honestly bad energy just leaked everywhere and everyone felt it. And then I immediately went, oh my gosh, I just leaked bad energy everywhere. This is exactly what I didn't want to do. And I was like so upset with myself. And I was like, you know what? I got to go see Dave. Like I need help regulating. I'm upset at what's going on, and was able to compose myself enough to do our first look. And you helped bring me back to earth and go, yeah, timelines don't matter. Like our energy matters. Remember that? And I went, oh my gosh, okay, you're right. And was able to make that super conscious choice of if everything's an hour and a half late, it's fine. What matters is my energy. And I forgot it in that moment and just went sheer stress and panic. And really what it was is I didn't do a good enough job truly passing over the reins of control.
Yeah.
I still wanted to control the wedding day because I had been for months, and I didn't.
told you, I was like, you're playing backup coordinator right now.
Yeah.
Like, don't play backup coordinator. We hired a day of coordinator, and well worth it, and just, chill.
Yep. And so then I was able to release. I came back in and apologized to all my bridesmaids for my energy, owned it, and was like, I'm not going to do that again, and made that a very conscious choice. And I'm bummed that I wasn't able to keep the energy I wanted the whole day. I'm really grateful it happened early on. I saw what the power of my energy can do and chose differently the entire rest of the day, and truly brought the energy that I wanted to bring and had a fantastic day. But I tell that story because it's so easy to
lose perspective.
And when you do that, you just leak that energy everywhere. And that like, I actually think that could ruin the day more than if the food vendor doesn't show up.
Yeah, or
it truly is the most important thing, and in ways it can be the hardest thing.
To keep perspective in light of things going wrong is like one of the biggest challenges in life. But that's what that when you don't have energy awareness or awareness of your own energy or how your energy affects others, you forget that your energy is important. Let's say we're on the way to a concert and somebody, we're picking someone up, and we pick them up and they're not ready and they're 10 minutes late, and they get in the car and they feel so bad and so guilty and are just like in a bad mood because we're 10 minutes late. Like, what's more important, that we get there in a good place and we all enjoy the evening, or that we're on time? Like, I would say getting there and being in a good place is better than being on time. And I am the king of ruining energy because of lateness, because I love to be on time and I get really triggered. I used to get really triggered when we were late. And I've realized that once we're late, there's no going backwards. There's no rewinding the clock and doing things differently. Like, let me not kill the energy because we're late. Like, you can set boundaries for the future. You can do all kinds of things to try to help be on time. But if you kill the vibe, you kill the whole thing. Like, the vibe is so important, and no one wants to admit that. Or people just don't realize they don't realize that they have control over it. And they don't realize that you have control over yourself. You do have control over your own vibe. And
that's actually the only thing you have control over.
Yeah, but nobody wants to even admit that they do have control of it, because you're thinking that things are affecting your vibe. No, you're letting things affect your vibe.
Right. And I think that is easily displayed. And I could say, oh, it's the coordinator's fault for not keeping me in the loop, or this person's fault, or that. Like, I could say it was the outward circumstances, and that's why it's okay I acted the way I did, but it's not. And I own that 100%. Only thing I can control is me.
Yeah.
And if I am putting out bad energy, that's on me, no matter what is happening outside.
Yes.
That's on me, because that's truly the only thing I have control over.
Yeah. Like, if somebody rear ends you on the way to an event, you could easily blame the person that rear ended you for affecting your energy. It is warranted. It is understandable that affects your energy. It's a super big bummer. You can grieve that all day. You can make space for that. But if you show up to the event with just terrible energy, no, you're probably going to ruin it for yourself and everyone around. Like, so, kind of deal with yourself and just be accountable for it. Like, if somebody shows up, they just got rear-ended, like, I'll make space for them for, a few minutes or whatever, but I guess it depends on the importance of the event. But, like, no matter what happened on our wedding day, the wedding day was so important to me to have good energy that I don't care if I got in a car accident before I showed up. Like, I had makeup all over my shirt 5 minutes before our first look. Like, I didn't know where it came from. I hugged somebody with a bunch of makeup on. I was stressing out about that. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let anything bother me. I'm going to be so locked tight of my own energy. I don't want anything to bug me this day. The only thing that almost got me was actually you kind of being in a bummer mood, and then I was like, oh no, I'm screwed. Like, how am I going to be able to uphold this storm? But I actually was able to, because I went and did yoga that morning. Like, thank God I was in a decent, like, I was in a good place.
God,
because
you were in a good place.
When I met with you in the first look, and then we had all these people taking pictures. I remember they had them walking around us while we're taking photos, and we were supposed to be looking at each other. And I remember talking to you the entire time, like, portal energy, like, let's go, like that. We had a code word, like portal. We said portal, and I remember saying it on stage, like portal meaning like go into a meditative state. Like portal, our portal energy is like our love energy. It's like there's nothing more powerful than that. And feel the love. Like, don't just like remember I love you and reality check. Like, feel it inside, like, let's go into this, like,
it's like almost like harness it.
Yeah.
And saying it to each other was like this reminder of, hey, remember our intention.
Yep.
Remember what we're here to do. Remember what's important. And I'm so grateful we talked about having that before, and that you used it, and that you had energy that I could co-regulate with and go like, oh, you're right, I'm off. I got to fix this. And thank you for the reminder. Thank you for the support.
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough to hold, but I think that's just like, and we're talking about our wedding, but I think this is the same thing that goes for anything in life every day, anything that you do, like remembering that your energy is so important and not losing track of that and being present for what's happening. Not to say like there's so much space and actually I would say the the best way to have good energy is to make space for your bad energy. Like Eckhart Tolle would say, there's no bad energy or bad emotions, but the ones that we call negative, the hard things, like I do think that for me, what has helped me become more aware of it is to make space for those hard things. So if something is difficult, even in the midst of a great day, or I'm having something come up for me that's difficult, I want to deal with that. And I may need to deal with it in a moment, like take one moment, go to the bathroom and deal with it. Or I might want to container it and like wait for another time and then deal with it. But I don't want it to leak out in just this bad. And it happens to me all the time. I'm not 100% aware of my energy. I'm not even 80% aware of my energy. Like I can be at an event and something can trigger an insecurity in me and I can ruin my time at the event. I'm someone who's becoming aware of it enough to start to do better and show up better. And it's so fun when you can. Like you just feel, you're like, wow, I just did that. Like in the past, I would have let that totally sidetrack my entire day. I would have killed our wedding day. And, I talked about getting married when I was younger and it just being this anxiety ridden day that I like had so many negative emotions about and did not show up well. I remember like having like moments of the day haunt me. Like, like if I thought of a moment in that day, like it haunted me. It was like this such shameful and negative emotion around that day. And I've dealt with all that, but I've realized that a lot of that was because of my anxiety and because of just total unawareness. I mean, I was 20 years old, and so I just didn't want to go into our day anything like that, and just want to be present and harness what we already have built.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like people shouldn't get married if they've only been together for a month or 2 months. Like if you want to get married, go for it. Like I don't know the answer, but I did enjoy a lot building a relationship with you that was rock solid and then letting everyone in on that.
Yeah, it did feel more of a celebration of what's already been built than a launch into a new chapter. And I think one of the coolest ways that was confirmed to me was the night before the wedding. I was in one of the girls' rooms saying goodnight to them. And I said, "Is there anything you're nervous about?" And she said, "No, the only thing that's changing is you're getting another ring." And that was just the coolest validation of, yeah, we're not launching some new chapter that's going to look totally different, feel different. No, tomorrow we're actually just celebrating what we've built and we're bringing everyone into it because we're proud of it and we love it. And I think also we had some talk and intentions of wanting to be a light for those who maybe do struggle to find partnerships who are in relationships that are having a hard time, that like, hey, once again, our same mission that we have for the podcast is a little bit of our mission of the wedding, of saying like, you can have this too. It's possible. Like we've had to fight really hard for this love and we talked about that. But I think anyone can have it. And we want that for everyone because it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a wedding is your day you have the mic and you can kind of say what you want to say to everyone that you love. And it's a cool opportunity to get to be able to, I don't want to use the word preach, but almost like evangelize love in a way.
To me, it's like, what are you proud of in your relationship? What do you want to display to everyone? Like, because that's already what's gonna happen. Like, whatever you have in your relationship is going to be on display that day. It just is. Your authentic energy, your leaky energy, it's all gonna show to anyone who can read it. And I think that, if we had nerves, it showed. If we had anxiety, it showed. Like, it all just shows, and so deal with it the best you can. And I don't think anyone, I don't want to go into the thought of like people's perceptions. Whatever they perceived is their perception, but I know that I didn't have a single doubt or fear of marrying you on that day. It wasn't even like, should we do this or not? It wasn't even a single debate, because we've built that love. And do we have fights? Do we have arguments? Do we have hard times? 100%. But I know we've built a relationship where we can get through anything, and we're going to go to war. We're always going to go back to the whiteboard and figure out how to resolve our issues. And if we don't, we're going to call in help every single time. And that's, to me, like that we've built something that's going to withstand what the difficulties of life. Life is hard. Anyone saying life's not hard, you're out of your mind. Like, life is hard. We're going to face hard. But are you joining with someone who you believe is going to do the hard thing when it gets hard? And like, are you going to support them and help them rise to the occasion too, and not force them, but just assist them?
It was wonderful. It was beautiful. It was crazy. It was nerve-wracking. It was an emotional soup.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. We'll unpack it more, I'm sure, through different episodes. We have so many ideas for episodes now from the last little bit. But energy is a big one that we've been focused on a lot. It kind of all comes back to that, and how to handle your emotions. And we talk a lot about feeling your feelings and learning how to. I know I got to run, but I just heard this thing that was so good about emotions. Somebody said, I can't remember who it was, or I'd give them the credit. They said, emotions are like children in the backseat of the car. You can't put them in the trunk. Like, that's not going to do well. They're just going to bang and scream, and you can't do that to them. You can't put them in the driver's seat, for sure. And you need to handle them like, hey, what do you need? We're driving. I'm driving. I can't attend to you right now necessarily, but if there's something I can give you right now that is helpful, or like if you need a conversation, I can give you somewhat limited attention, because I have a place that I'm driving to. If they're so bad, I need to stop the car and get out, and if they just like poop their pants or something, like maybe, I don't know, like we might need to deal with that right now. But it's that relationship of like, is my emotion so bad that I have to deal with it right now? Or is my emotion like something I can, we can wait till we get there and we can handle that. But you still have to handle it. You can't ignore your kids, and you can't put them in the trunk. So I thought that was really good. Like, I like that mentality of how we tried to handle our energy the day of the wedding, and just in life.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to give them a snack too.
Sometimes you got to give sometimes you got to give them a snack.
Sometimes you just got to give them a snack is the answer.
Sometimes a snack is the answer. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.